Hello guys, sorry for the really long hiatus when it comes to instructional videos. A move and a proposal and other things in life have got in the way, but I'm back and I'm with a very exciting game, sort of fresh from the Kickstarter Crossmaster arena. So this is a really fun game, although I've just sort of spoiled my final thoughts. I have read the rules and I've played a few games and I've played it online, so I think I'm pretty comfortable with them. That said, there is always the chance I'll get the odd thing wrong, and I'm sure people will correct me in comments underneath, so just keep an eye on the comments as well. They might have a few correction-y things. Apologies if I do foul anything up. This is at one of the higher level pledges, so you do have the sort of resin stuff. My friend's also done it as well, so I've sort of got access to his stuff as well, and yeah, just be aware of that. So it might not be quite exactly what you get if you were to buy the board game straight from somewhere like Cool Stuff Inc. or something like that, but all of the components in the game are still stunning regardless of whether or not you kickstarted it. So without further ado, let's get stuck in and have a look at how the board is set up. So guys, here we have the board set up, ready for our first game of Crossmaster. You can see we've got lots of terrain on the board and some little coins. Essentially, in each space where you put a coin, you will have a little symbol. So you just make sure that you've put a coin on every space where there's a symbol. So there's a symbol, and we put a little coin there. These bushes are going to have a little bush symbol on them here. And then the crates and trees will have either stumps or sort of little pretend crates. So we have a sort of crate symbol there and a stump there. You'll notice that you've got these devil symbols down here. Now it's not immediately obvious, but there is actually a little coin symbol there as well, so we'd need to put a coin on those devil ones. And I think every single devil one has a coin going on it pretty much. So you'll put out the terrain, okay, you might not have resin terrain, so it would just be the normal terrain. Each side is going to have 6 of these galleons of glory, so we'll have 6 each, and there will be one in the middle which is seen as a wild one. Now these are the sort of buffs as well you can buy, and you'll have 2 stacks. They'll normally be a lot higher. I haven't put all of the ones I've got out, but you'll have 2 stacks, so your level 12 ones, and you'll have revealed 2, 6 ones, revealed 2, and 3 ones, and you'll have revealed 2. And they sort of either are boosts, which are immediately used, buffs, these black ones are buffs, which will give you a 1 turn advantage. So they very often buff your attack power, so you've got two, normally you can fit 2 attacks in, so you can do it twice. And then finally you've got the sort of the weapons, and they're sort of marked by this white stuff. We won't really know what they mean at this point, but that's the idea there. The game comes with plenty of dice, so you'll give the dice, you'll give 4 to one player and 4 to the other. So we'll pop them down there. And then it's going to be the case of choosing characters. So I've just got the ones from the base game out, although you will eventually have plenty of other ones to choose from. So we have these as our character cards. So this is Bada Boom. We have 12 points worth to play with, and the aim of the game is to get those galleons, so we get 6 to start with. If you knock someone out, you receive the points on that character. So if I killed Bada Boom, I would get 3 of the opposing player's galleons. So the main way you're going to win this game is by knocking out the players. Now each character has a few things. They have a number of movement points, so 3, a number of health points, 9, and a number of action points. And these are what you can spend your actions with. Essentially, you would choose up to 12 of these. This is just the setup. We'll go through how they work. So essentially that's 4 and 4 here, because they're all 3s. There are some incredibly powerful characters. They're quite broken, like Nox, and he will have he will cost 6. So if you knock him out, you've won. But you're not going to, because he's a sod. So that's the idea, guys. You will choose them, and then in your team, let's just zoom right in, you will see that there's an initiative value for each of them. So we've got 8, 1, 4, 2 and 9. You'll set your team up, okay, so you'll choose your 4 characters and you'll set them up from high number to low number, and that's how you will set it up. So if we were to do this team, which I'm just setting out underneath, we will have a very high initiative team. So here we've got the Queen of the Tofus, and it's not very easy to see, but she has a initiative there of 8. Then Bill, he'll go next because he's got an initiative of 7. Oscar has an initiative of 6. And Badaboom has an initiative of 3. So he'll be going last in this team. So you've got them all out. They're going to be the order in which you go and use your characters. Additionally, whoever has the higher initiative, the combined initiative, will choose which side of the board to play. Okay, so there's this double-sided board, and then you'll choose a side to set your guys up. So let's just set this team up. Essentially, we are playing with this character facing this way and another player facing that way, and we are allowed to place our characters in the first 2 rows of the board. So we'll put the Queen of the Tofus there, and we'll put Bill Tell there, and we'll put Oscar Cass there, and perhaps Badaboom there. Now I'm not just putting those randomly. You can see these little symbols here. They have to go on a space where there are little feet. Okay, you can't put them anywhere else. And then perhaps the other team will set up and they will place their characters in other spaces. So perhaps we want to nobble the Queen of the Tofu. So, oh whoops. We'll put all of our characters over here with a view to try and gang up on her. And once we have put all of our characters on the board, it's going to sort of move on to play. So, a turn is pretty straightforward. What we will do is we will have our 4 cards laid out in front of us. The first player will move and use this character. After they have done that, they will move and use this character. After they've done that, they'll move and use this character. And finally, we've done that, they will move this character. Every turn you have this thing called tension, but for the very first turn of the game, you don't have tension. So let's just play the first turn out, and then we will see what we can do. So essentially on a turn, you will be able to move up to your movement points. You will be able to use all of your action points. Our first character is the Queen of the Tofus. Okay, so she can move 4 spaces. Now you can only move orthogonally in this game. You can't move diagonally. And then she has 8 hit points, so she's alright, and 6 action points. She has 2 spells. So for 3 action points she can attack, and she has a range of 1 to 3. This green symbol means that if she stands on a crate, that can be extended by 1. So that will become 1 to 4. That would do 1 damage basic, and when we attack we will roll dice, so potentially it will do more. The other thing she can do is actually, this fist means it has to be adjacent. She can summon a tofu. Now to you and I, that's a sort of weird, gooey, I don't know, beige thing. But in this game, it's a birdie. Okay. Then you've got some flavour text, and then you have some powers at the bottom. And some of these can be very unique, so it depends on the character. But for the base game, it's generally pretty simple. Critical hit means that when she attacks, she rolls an extra dice. Dodge means that when she's moving past people, she rolls an extra dice to avoid them. So basically, these powers, every single thing you're going to do in the game is going to be dictated by a single dice roll, and these powers give you an extra dice to use. So, with that in mind, we have 4 movement and 6 action points. We will move the Queen of the Tofus on. So she's up at the top, she's the girl in the yellow hat. Now, alongside the powers we have specifically, we also have a few other things we can do with our action points. Remember, we have 6 of them, and both of our powers use 3. So we can do 2 of the powers. We could summon 2 birdies if we wanted to, or we could do 2 ranged attacks if we wanted to. We could always punch. So every character can punch, and it costs 5 action points, and it just does 1 neutral damage. It just does 1 damage. But what we'll do is we will move 1, 2, 3, and we've ended, or we've finished our go at this point on a coin. So for 1 action point, we can pick a coin up. So we now have a very shiny karma coin. Okay, and we'll put that in front of our character sheet to show that we have it. So we're on there, and then for our final action, we'll move there. So to recap, the extra actions you can do is to pick up a coin for 1, to punch someone for 5. I can't see very many instances where that would be useful, if I'm honest. Why on earth would we want coins? Well, that's related to the final action. On these spaces with the eyes, so here and here, we can buy things from the shop. So the things we can buy from the shop will either be these buffs, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but they generally are pretty good, and they go 3, 6 and 12 coins. Or we can buy this wild galleon of glory. So we start with 6, and that would give us the ability to go to 7, give us a bit of protection. Because remember, the aim of the game is to take these coins, these tokens, from our enemy. So if we have 7 and they have 6, it just makes us a little bit easier to do. So she's only used up 1 of her actions, so for her final action she's going to summon a little tofu, and she'll pop it in front of her. Now, because she's summoned a creature, the creature can now run off, and it can move 5. So perhaps it will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now it's well and truly in their base. Now, a lot of creatures will block line of sight if we've got ranged attacks, but actually, because this is only a little teeny tiny birdie, he doesn't really do much. He can hurt the other players, but he can't block line of sight, he can't slow players down, or anything like that. So, on a basic go, you will move up to your movement, and you will spend your action points on either picking up coins, buying things, be it buffs or tokens, and summoning things and using spells. So basically, every player, after that, we will then move on to Bill Tell, who is the carrot-topped one. He can only move 3, so he could go 1, 2, 3. Now, he has a bow, so he has quite a long range. We can see here that his bow is 3 to 8 spaces. And if he wanted to, he could cast a spell on himself. Now, this symbol means self-cast, so you're casting it on yourself. The fact that it's blue means you can only cast it once per round. So he has 6 action points as well, so he could shoot twice. If he casts this spell, then that will cost 1, which will only leave him with 5. So at that point, he would only be able to shoot once. So if he does cast it, it will give him +3 more range. But he won't be able to move anymore. So that will move up to 3 to 11. So he can move and shoot 11 spaces away. So let's see if he can get a hit in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So he's actually managed to hit Little Healy, who's that character in blonde, and there's no trees in the way, so we do operate line of sight. If this birdie was here, it actually wouldn't block line of sight because it's so small, but if there was a character there, then that would actually block line of sight. So he's decided to attack. You can see here that the attack itself does 1 damage, and most attacks will automatically do 1 damage no matter what you do. He doesn't have the critical power. So what that means is he will get to roll 1 dice. If he had got the critical power, he would roll 2 dice. So essentially what those powers do is almost everything is boiling down to a dice check. And it will give you 2 dice to do their check instead of 1. So he rolls the dice, and he has rolled a shield. So that doesn't mean anything when you're attacking. The only thing you're looking for when you're attacking is this symbol, this starburst. if you roll this symbol, which is a boot and a starburst, you can choose which one it would be. So if you're attacking, you would choose that. If you ever roll the S symbol, that is a wild card, and you immediately turn it to whatever side you want. So again, we choose it to that. So unfortunately for Bill, he had the base damage of 1, okay, and he didn't roll a starburst, so he doesn't get anything more. So now little Healy gets to roll defense, and again she gets 1 dice to defend herself. If she had the armor ability, she would roll 2. Now for every shield you roll as the defender, you block 1 damage. So if she rolls a shield on this roll, she actually won't take a hit. Now she hasn't rolled a shield, but she's rolled this S, which means she can turn it to any side. So thankfully for her, she actually ends up with a shield, and she's blocked the damage. So essentially you're going to take your turn, you will move, you will shoot, and you will attack. Okay. At the start of the second round, the player who gets to go second actually immediately rolls 2 dice. So they roll 2 dice. And what we have here is the results that they've got. So we've got a starburst and a boot and a starburst. So critical strike and dodge. And essentially that is giving the power to the character. So this guy already has dodge. Okay, so we can't give him dodge, but we could give him critical strike. So we could actually assign this dice to him, and we saw before he rolled 1 dice when attacking. Because he's got that dice on his thing, he now rolls 2. Okay, if we don't like the dice, we can sell them. We can sell 1 for 1 coin, or both for 2 coins. So in this case, we really like crit. You probably wouldn't want to sell them, but if you wanted to, you could get 3 coins straight off the bat. Now, in this particular instance, we do have the ability, because you have to turn this to either a boot side or a starburst side, we have the ability to turn it to 2 starbursts. If at any point you roll a double, you take 1 of the galleons from this player and 1 of the galleons from this player. So now they only have 5 each. And as the game progresses, those piles are going to go down and down, and it's called tension for a reason. It's going to make the game more tense because it will make it easier for a player to win. So the longer the game goes on, the more likelihood there is of the game ending. So if we were to just fast forward a little bit, let's say that we've got a character over here at long last, we've got a tofu here, we've got some guy here. Let's say this poor guy, the king of the Gobles, is down to his last 2 health. Okay, so first of all, he is going to try and run away over here. So he's going to try and move away from this character. Now any character, so any main character or any big minion, so this guy can summon a big old sheepy, any minion will roll to see if he can sort of hold on to the guy. It's called lock. And again, if you have the lock power, you're rolling 2 dice. If you don't have the lock power, you're rolling 1 dice. And to stop his movement, we're trying to roll a magnet. So what's happened is he's declared that he's trying to move away. We've rolled a magnet, so the girl in yellow has basically held on to him, and unless he can roll a boot like that, he will lose his entire go. So he will not move and he won't be able to do anything. So it can be crippling, and my top tip to a new player would be to attack first and then try and move away, because that means at least you've got a couple of attacks in. If you try and move away and then attack and you fail, then your whole go is ruined. So if he had the dodge power, he would roll 2 dice. He doesn't, so he's just going to roll 1, and he's looking for a boot. Now he has the special ability, so the wild card, so of course he can turn that to a boot, so he can move away and then he can make his escape. If we said that, I know I'm not really playing the game out, I'm just trying to show you how the game would end. So let's say that on the next turn she catches up with him. Oh, whoops, she falls over on the coins. She catches up with him, and thanks to her little tofu attacking him, he dies. Okay. So poor old the king of the Gobles has died. So that means that he's taken all 10 damage on his card, and what we need to do is, he was worth 3 coins, so we go across and we take 3 of these tokens and we put them on this guy's stack, because she managed to get the kill. So you can see this guy's stack of these is much higher now than this guy's here, and if at any point he runs out totally, that's the end of the game. He's lost the game, and the winner is the one who has the Galleons of Glory. So in essence, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be moving around the board, spending your movement points to sort of get closer to the enemy, spending your action points to buy cool stuff and to cast these spells, maybe to summon some creatures, and then you're attacking each other, really. That's the main focus of the game, okay? So it's a very simple game to play. I know there are all these extra special powers, but in reality, all they ever do is add a dice. So just going through the dice, the crit means you roll 2 dice instead of 1 when attacking. The lock means you roll 2 dice when trying to stop someone from leaving a space. The shield rolls 2 dice in defense. The boot means that you roll 2 dice when trying to dodge a lock. And basically for this, you need to roll equal to the number of magnets that the person's rolled. So if they don't roll any magnets, you can just move away. You don't need to even roll. If they roll 1 magnet, you need a boot. If they roll 2 magnets, you need 2 boots, and so on. The S is wild, and then this last one is the boot / crit. So it's not very well focused, I'm afraid. The boot / crit, and obviously you turn it to those things. That's it. There are some really clever tactics to use, okay, so I think if you play the game tactically, you are going to win. It's not just down to luck. A couple of other symbols which we haven't shown that I think are useful. Any symbol which is red cannot be extended. So we said by going onto a crate you can increase the range. If it's red, it cannot. So even if this lady's on a crate, she can only ever move 3 spaces or do this spell 3 spaces away. And remember that a space is, so 3 spaces from Bill Tell is 1, 2, 3. So diagonals don't count. Anything with a straight line means that she has to be in a straight line. You can't do that in a diagonal. So we've seen those ones. Pierce's armour means you roll 1 less dice for armour. Okay, so if it's pierce, then you roll 1 less. So for a basic character, that means they don't roll any armour, which can be very powerful. This one is the only other one which we sort of haven't really talked about. Something in red, you can see this is a very cheap spell, so it only costs 1 of your action points, and it does a huge amount of damage. Okay, so 3 damage basic, and he has the critical hit power, so he's rolling 2 dice anyway. He could do 5 damage in just 1 hit. Red means you can only do it once. Okay, it's a once per game ability, and again, it's 1 to 3 range, it can't be extended, and it's in a straight line. There is one other one, which is on Bada Boom, the Bombardier. The X means you don't need line of sight. So all other attacks, if we had a guy here, and this ginger guy is trying to shoot him, there's a tree in the way, so he can't see him. Okay, if you've got the bomber, he throws it over the tree, and that means that you can attack. Clever positioning with that guy's bombs is really cool. And another thing which is quite interesting with him, although I am digressing ever so slightly, is that you will see some of the abilities have special stuff. So retreat shot has Bada Boom retreating 1 cell. So what we could do in our go is we could go 1, 2, 3, and we want to move a bit more, but we only have 3 movement points. So I could attack this empty cell, and the rules say that he moves... Oh, whoops, we've just killed Oscar Cass. He moves back 1 space, so he moves back and he attacks an empty cell. So obviously he doesn't do any damage. And then I could do it again. So actually, without even realising it, this guy potentially could have 5 moves in a turn. And it's not something that's immediately obvious to a new player. So I hope you've got an idea of the game. Remember that it's just moving, using your action points wisely, and the aim of the game is to get those Galleons of Glory, and really that's it. In terms of how I feel the game is, It's really fun. That's ultimately the truth of it. I'm really happy with all of the cool bits you got in the Kickstarter. I think that these are quite exciting, so I won't lie about that. But it's just a really good game. There's tons and tons of characters, so we do have loads of other ones. I've only shown you the basics, but you've got these guys. This guy is invisible, so he can't be hit by any ranged attack. This woman, she does like massive area heals. This guy has a slightly different bomb attack. This one drops little dolls that can screw you over. So there's loads of different characters. You've got this guy who's the lucky one. You flip a coin and he either hurts himself or he does loads of damage to you. You've got this guy, he's got a big hammer. I don't really know much about him. You've got loads of characters. Some characters are fundamentally broken, although it probably won't be apparent to you in the game. I've played quite a lot of this online, and Nox, who's one of the characters you got if you were kickstarting, he's just evil to play with, to the point that you really aren't missing out with him. He's not even fun to play against, and most of us will only ever have one of him, so some poor sod's going to just get absolutely trounced because you've got the better character. So there is issues with balance, but anyone who's playing this game sensibly will be clever in terms of how they draft it, and that won't really be an issue. And to be honest, it's over in 20 minutes, so if you have a crap game, who cares? You can start again, and this time you can have the super OP character. So I definitely recommend looking it up. The tutorial in the video, in the manual is actually excellent, to the point that you could teach a 6-year-old how to play this, and I think they get a real kick, especially out of these little cute miniatures. Some of them, I don't know, maybe you find him a bit scary. He's got a sort of Nightmare Before Christmas vibe going on, but as a rule I think they're pretty awesome. So hopefully this clears up a few questions for those of us that are learning, deciding whether or not we want to play the game. Hopefully I've helped you make your decision.